Tour operators in East Africa will now be able to jointly market their multi-country packages following the launch of the East African Destination Portal by Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda. The portal will enable Kenya achieve growth revenue targets of 95 billion shillings by June this year. We are now joined by the Managing Director of the Kenya Tourism Board. When we look at the tourism sector in Kenya, we are coming from not a very good position if you look at the numbers that we've been seeing for the last 3 or so years.
Yes.
But talk about the recovery that we are seeing in terms of revenue numbers. Where are we at the moment?
So tourism, 2015-2016 has seen a growth of 16.7%, which is commendable. It is not ideal, but it is commendable, especially coming from the backdrop of the recovery that we're going through in the past 4 years, right? We're seeing revenues of 92 billion, which is now making tourism the second most important earner of revenue for the Kenyan economy. That's really commendable, because if you look at the period just 4 or 5 years ago, tourism was at single-digit numbers, 2-3% growth. In less than 3 or 4 years, we've been able to bring that up to 16.7%, right? The tourism hasn't gone back to the level that it was in the early years of 2000, but we look forward to it getting there if we continue on this trajectory.
Mm-hmm. As Kenya Tourism Board, what is it that you've been doing? Because I know the key source markets, Europe, America, was a big problem because of the security challenges. Domestic tourism was not even there, so to speak. I mean, what is it that you've done to see the double-digit growth that you're talking about?
Okay, so we've done 2 things. Number one, like you rightly say, domestic tourism was not a consideration over the years, and it was left to the individual, either adventurous Kenyan or people who had been exposed to holidaying, to determine how they could experience the country. But in the past year, what we did is made a concerted effort through a campaign that we launched called Tembea Kenya, or Tembea Namini, or Tembea Magical Kenya, right? So what we realized is unless you're able to showcase to people what is available, they don't know that it is available, right? Kenyans as a community are quite adventurous. So what we found is that when we started to actually talk about locations and showcase these locations, both in the mainstream media as well as on social media, as driven by individual Kenyans who are adventurous enough to go out and capture the experience, we started to see a growth in that area. If I can give you actual statistics, we saw the domestic segment posted a total of 3.6 million bed nights, right? Now, that usually is the currency that we use to count the level of growth in tourism. But the importance is, in 2016, it was compared to 3.1 in 2015. So you can see that if you look at international tourists as totaling to 877 this year, and the balance of that being domestic, you can see that the potential of the domestic market amongst how many Kenyans are we? What are we now? 44 million is incredible. You're looking at, in essence, a market that is 44 million strong. Our key source market is probably at 95 million, at 95,000, okay? So you can see that there's an opportunity there that is latent, it is untapped. We just need to showcase what it is that we want to offer Kenyans, and that will just take off. So that's the domestic strategy. Our international strategy has been fairly well set up, right? Both by in-market partners as well as local or host country partners or local partners. And we have worked with them consistently over the years to be able to establish ourselves in those markets through what we call the market development representatives and partners, our missions there, as well as our stakeholders who also go to those markets because those are their source markets as well. So you find that the top 4 markets, which we all know, UK, US, India, now China, Uganda has come up, Germany is sort of going down slightly. But the resilience of those markets has improved slightly. They are more affected by advisories and tourist threat, but now tourist threat is a global phenomenon. So that is less of a factor now. Now The issue around getting Kenya into consideration is driven by the value and the quality of the product.
Now, you seem to have the marketing perspective in check, I mean, locally, internationally, but over the years we've heard that the Kenyan destination has become quite expensive to travel, both for locals and internationals. I know the government has tried to waive some levies, but is there more that could be done that is being considered to make Kenya more, more attractive in terms of price? Because we've seen people opt for South Africa, Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Exactly. That's not lost on us. We're aware of that. What we've done most recently, there's a number of initiatives that we've taken. Things like ensuring that children under 12 don't pay the visa fees, making it easily accessible where you can get visas at the airport, right? Especially for the selected and negotiated markets. But more importantly, we've come up with a program that encompasses 3 countries. It is the East Africa Community, and it's an initiative between Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. And with that, we have come up with an initiative of a single visa at $100, where the visitor comes into the market and upon paying a visa fees of $100 is able to travel between Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Now, if you know about the product in the 3 countries collectively can give you an incredible experience as a tourist, because the culture and the heritage that Rwanda is able to offer, the unique products, say like the mountain gorillas, which is booked way in advance by a number of our source markets, you're able to put that within the package. We in Kenya will then be able to ensure that in terms of the offering that we have, we move away from this stereotype of beach and adventure and move into places like culture, move into golf tourism, move into luxury wellness tourism, we move into sports. We have an amazing heritage with our athletes, and with now in the area of rugby and in the area of golf, which we don't talk about. We have an amazing opportunity in the area of culture, in the area of food festivals, skydiving, adventure, things that are different and people are not really showcased by Kenya as a country. Now that is the way to diversify your product, so people move away from looking at how much is it costing me, and they start to think, what is the value that I get when I go to that market?
All right, let's talk about sustainability, because it affects our traditional tourism product, which is some of those things that you've mentioned. What's the biggest threat to ensuring that Kenya continues to be a destination for the future? And how are you addressing it?
Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, 2017 has been declared by the UNWTO as the year of sustainability and development, right? Tourism sustainability and development. The one thing that we as a country must do is be proud of our tourism product, but more importantly, protect it. So the initiative that was taken by the government, I think it's in April last year, to ban the 105 tons of ivory, go a long way into messaging to the world that we want to ensure that we have a sustainable tourism product for now and for future generations, right? Developing areas such as ecotourism, going into areas where you find tourist attractions that are virgin tourist attractions, and building around that attraction, and not necessarily mowing down that attraction and building a brick experience there that damages the environment. So it is sensitizing both our investors, both our local stakeholders, working with the government in terms of ensuring that we retain the product that we have, especially in the areas of our wildlife, ensuring that we are watching over our wildlife and understanding where they are, especially things like the white rhino. Species that are have a high likelihood for extinction, we should protect them. And that is how you guard sustainability. And then you develop other products that people probably are not looking at the moment. You develop other areas where you have the opportunity, say, for parks that are underdeveloped. You have birding that people don't know about. Over 1,000 species, right? So it's making sure that you do not end up with a product that is stayed. That when people think of Kenya, they only remember beach and safari. So of course they go to Uganda to experience culture. They go to South Africa to experience a culinary wine route, other things that those countries offer.